Welcome to the TechHub.training VBA Sorting Apples Challenge Solution. So here we have our data, and I'm just going to walk through our code just step by step so that we can see what's happening with it. So in order to do so, there's a way you can do it using F8. So if you hit the F8 key, if you're on a PC, then it will walk through your code. And with each press of F8, it will go to the next line of code. So you can see that my top line is highlighted. Okay, so first we're going to define our variables. And these just make it easier to plug into the filters and the other things that we're doing. So our beginning date will be the 1st of January of 1980. This is so that if a stock has data from before that, then we just take it out and don't deal with it. So go ahead and define all of these. And just a side note, we'll want to be careful about the filters on these because some of these dates are included in the data. So we'll just want to be careful that we're including all of the data for each year. Okay, and then this is just in case any of the formats are different. Okay, so you'll see here, this is the start of the 1980 sheet, and this is the line that we're using to filter the data. So I'll just walk through each section. Range A1, so that's that. The entire column, so it's essentially taking that, and then it's applying a filter. And the filter is going to be on this is the field that it's filtering. You'll see that I put range A1.column, which spits out the column number, as you can see in the dropdown. So it's filtering on the first column, which is A. And then the criteria it's using is our dates that we put in to these variables. So we're doing our first criteria, which is we want dates less than or equal to our end 1980s value. So, and you can see in that drop down it gives us that value. But then that's not the only criteria we want, so we'll put this operator EXCEL&, so that applies both these criteria. And then we'll do greater than our beginning dates, which is spit out there. And then you'll also notice that in order to allow a code to go to the next line, you put a space and then an underscore, and that allows you to continue the code on the next line. Okay, so we'll go ahead and press F8 to apply this filter. Oops. And as you can see, it filtered the data. Now this line of code is just going to copy the data that we want. So range A1, so that's this cell, and then we're going to want through column G, because that's the end of our data. Then this will add in a specific row value that we want our data to go to. So as you can see, it says range A1, so that's this cell, .end Excel down. That's essentially doing a control down arrow key. And as you can see, the row number there is 2288. This dot row gives us that row number, so 2288. So essentially this is going take the range from A1 to G 2288, and that's this cell. So we're basically just highlighting all of our data. And then here we're just copying it. But we're also including this line, this piece of the code, which says Excel type visible. So we're basically specifying that we only want the visible cells that are included in this data. Otherwise, if you don't have this, it will also copy any intermediate rows that are hidden and that are outside the criteria of our filter. Okay, so we'll move on, press F8. So we copied all of that. And then we're going to add a sheet after this, the Apple revenue sheet, and then we'll name it 1980s. Okay, and then we'll paste. Then this is just a feature to auto-fit so that the columns fit the data. You can see there that now it shows up. And then we're going to want to activate our Apple revenue sheet again. And then we're just going to do the same code for each decade. But as you can see, we are changing the criteria for the filters so that we get all of our data. And then just notice here, like I said earlier, we have to be careful about the dates. So we want to include this date, so we have to include this less than or equal to, but we don't want to include the last date of the last decade. So we do not include that equal sign. Just something to be aware of and careful of. So we'll just go ahead and walk through. See it paste, auto fit. Go back to the data. And we'll just keep going. And since it's a repeating code, you can definitely do this with looping. I just chose not to. And for beginners, maybe looping isn't as intuitive, but for people who understand them, this is definitely possible. Okay, now we've gotten to the end. So we have our 2020 sheet. Now we're just going to go back and clear our filters just as a good practice. So we'll highlight A1, then we'll show this line of code just shows all the data in the sheet, so it takes out the filter. And then that's the end. So we can see here that we have every decade represented, and then if we wanted to do a quick check, we can go ahead and see at the fringes whether it includes all of our data and whether it includes anything it shouldn't. Great, I hope this was helpful. Thank you.